Hey everyone, this is Mr. Dunkel. Let's go ahead and jump in and actually create a chart this time. Now when creating a chart, what you'll want to do is you want to put your data labels here in row 1 and column A. And because you're going to have labels here and you're going to have labels here, that means we want to leave A1 blank. So let me show you what I'm talking about. For instance, let's say I want to track how many dogs, cats, and rabbits are in the shelter during the months of November, December, and January. So what I can do here is across in B1, I'll put dogs, and then cats, and then rabbits. And then down here in the A column, I'll put November, December, and January. So now I'm just going to enter in some basic numbers. Let's get that there. Let's say we got rid of rabbits, and there we go. Okay, so now I have the data that I'm ready to enter, and I can now make a chart. Let me show you one thing before I do that sometimes comes up is, let's say you're typing a big long word. I'm just going to type Chihuahua, and you'll notice that Chihuahua is going a little past the edge of the cell. And so here's an easy way you can correct this. If you put your cursor in between the column headings, like in between the F and the G, you'll notice that it turns into a black plus symbol with double arrows. Once you get that cursor, I can now left click and drag, and I can drag my F column as far as I want it to be. But an even better way is get your cursor where you have the black double arrows, but instead of left click and drag, just double click. Go click click with your left mouse button, and if you click, it will automatically size it to the width of your word, whatever the biggest word is. So for instance, I have a real big word here. I can put it right here in between and go click, and now it sized it to that. So that's helpful to know. Now, here's our data, and in order for Excel to graph it or chart it, it has to know what data we want it to graph. So if I just try to come here and go to Insert Chart and I preview, notice it's a blank thing because we haven't told it what data to use. So we have to select the data first. Two different ways to select the data, and there's one way that's kind of common. People will put their cursor here, for instance in A1. Notice that I have a white cross symbol, a real thick cross. What you can do is you can left click and drag, and as you drag it over and across and let go, it selects all your data. So that's a pretty easy way to do it. However, there's one little problem with that that you just have to be careful of. As long as you can do that carefully, it's good to do. But if you're not paying attention, sometimes what happens is your mouse works its way over to the edge. And notice now, instead of having that big white plus symbol, I have a little black plus symbol. And that's a very different thing, because the little black plus symbol basically means that you want to copy whatever's in that cell. So notice if I have this little black plus and I left click and drag and let go, it has copied that blank cell all the way down. So that's not what I want. Now where you might use that though, here's a for instance, let's say that you need to make a numbered list, let's say 1 through 30 or something of that nature. What you can do is you can just start the pattern like 1 and 2 and then select them both. And then what you can do is come down to get the black plus symbol and just start dragging down. You'll notice to the right I've got a number here. And so if I let go right here, it's numbered 1 through 30 for me, and I didn't have to go through and type 1, 2, 3, 4. And so that's pretty cool. If you also, let's just say you had a pattern like Chris and Bob, and you wanted to repeat that, Chris, Bob, Chris, Bob, Chris, Bob, you can select that and drag it down, and it knows to keep doing the Chris, Bob, Chris, Bob, Chris, Bob. So that's the purpose of that little black plus symbol. But for selecting, you got to be real careful because we don't want that for selecting. We want to have the big white plus symbol. So what I use instead is a method called the shift click method. You can use whichever way you're most comfortable with, but this is what I typically use. And what that is you click on the first cell that you want, you hold your shift key down on the keyboard, and then click the last cell or the bottom right cell. And as long as you're holding the shift key down when you make the second click, it will select everything in between, and then you can let go of the keyboard. And now I've got everything selected. I'm ready to make a chart. So let's go ahead and make one. Here under the Insert tab, you'll see recommended charts, and let me show you the ones you're going to use the most. There's several of them here to choose from. The ones you're going to use the most are the column and bar charts, and this is essentially it's the exact same chart. It's just if I actually pull this menu down, you'll see an example. The column chart has vertical columns, And if I went to bar chart, the bar chart has horizontal columns. It's the exact same chart, just turned sideways. And so one advantage of a bar chart, and when you typically want to use a bar chart, is if you are simply just comparing data, or you're comparing this item to this item to that item type of thing. It's really good for that. Now the one right below it here is called a line chart, and a line chart's really good if you are comparing things over time. So if I pull this down, what's really cool is I can hover over it and it'll show me examples. Now in this particular case, I am showing some changes over time, but this particular chart's not set up well to show it this way because you notice I'm not seeing, it's charting November, December, January as opposed to the changes over time, and so I'm not going to use that for this particular one. I will show you another video how to do something like that. The last one that you're going to use a lot of is the pie chart. And what a pie chart is, you're probably familiar with its look because it looks like a piece of pie or a whole pie. The idea behind a pie chart and when you want to use it is when you have a 100% whole, and what you are representing is that you are showing how that 100% can be broken up into different sections. So with everything selected, what we're going to do here is we are going to make us a column chart. Now when you pull it down and you kind of hover over the top, you'll notice you can see the different styles. For now, what I just recommend, just use kind of the standard, whichever one's in the top left corner is typically your best bet for it. So I'm going to go ahead and click it here, and now we have a chart and we can do things with the chart. So in the next video I'm going to show you how we can edit this chart, change some things as far as the style of it, and print it as well.